Greetings, you reckless rockers. Have you ever felt like you were born inside a jar? No? Well, Rammstein did, and they said, "Hold my beer, buddy, we're making a whole album about that." They called it Mutter. Yes, literally Mother, with a dead baby on the cover. Welcome to the story of the most beautiful nightmare in metal history. In 1998, the British press completely lost its mind. German, industrial, using imagery linked to a Leni Riefenstahl film? Wow! These guys are obviously Nazis. Rammstein replied, "Nope, we're into dildos and fire, not ideologies." But that was just the warm-up. Because while Europe was boiling, Rammstein were preparing the album that would either turn them into gods or into a national joke. Mutter. Before Mutter, Rammstein were already a strange phenomenon in the West. Herzeleid and Sehnsucht were basically industrial music boxes for people with too much repressed energy or too many chains in their garage. Success gave them confidence, or maybe just removed their last shred of common sense. For album number 3, they said, "Guys, either we become legends or we go back to factory work." So they isolated themselves in Haus Weimar, a tired communist-era house on the Baltic Sea. It used to be a relaxation spot for the GDR elite, basically an Airbnb for retired party bosses. That's where they wrote the entire album. And their mascot? Pay attention. The dog that would later play Hitler's dog in the movie Downfall. If that's not peak Germanness, I don't know what is. Their sonic goal? Wagner after hitting the gym. Industrial metal, but with a real orchestra from the Deutsches Filmorchester Babelsberg. Everything was perfect, until they realized the guy who arranged the orchestra parts had improvised a little too much. The orchestra shows up, plays, and it sounds like an accordion mating with a tram. Full panic. They rewrote everything that same night. Then came the mixing phase. Hours of arguing, philosophical debates about which song deserves to exist, and who was breathing too loudly into the microphone. But somehow, chaos creates art, especially when art equals fire, plus Germans, plus existential tension. Beyond all the industrial philosophy, something very human was happening in that Baltic house. Rammstein were learning how to be Rammstein. 6 strong personalities, 6 completely different artistic visions, daily collisions, no fistfights, but also no Christmas cards. Till obsessed over lyrics, Paul over riffs, Flake over electronic weirdness, and in all that friction, something magical formed. In a crumbling house with Hitler's dog nearby, they realized for the first time they could create something that transcended language and culture. The contrast mattered too, austere communist architecture versus their ambition to build something colossal. It was like trying to construct a spaceship inside a rusty garage. But that pressure forced clarity, less clutter, more impact. That's where their new philosophy was born. Less chaos, more punch. The result? An album that sounds like a triumphant march, infiltrated by a depressed poet. April 2nd, 2001, Mutter is released. Shock, the cover? A dead fetus preserved in formaldehyde. Germany explodes. Is this allowed? Is it real? Is this a museum or a nightmare? Rammstein's answer, it's art, darling. But beyond the shock, the music hit somewhere very sensitive. The word Mutter carries enormous weight in German culture. It digs into memory, trauma, identity, and the album delivers emotionally. Sadness, anger, nostalgia, and an orchestra that pushes you straight toward tears. Songs like Mein Herz Brennt feel like a beautiful nightmare. Angelic choirs, tank-like riffs, lyrics that burn like poetry on fire. Fans felt it instantly. This wasn't just music, it was an experience. Industrial therapy with flaming candy. Then came Links 234, the ultimate political statement. You want to know where my heart is? On the left. In a country still sensitive about anything German and military, Rammstein said it loud and clear, "We are not what you think." Electric moment. Everyone felt it. No one had said it like that. Over a tank riff. And then the closer. Nebel. 2 old lovers. One last kiss. Quiet. Devastatingly beautiful. Exactly the kind of song that breaks your soul after it's already been burned for 10 tracks. For many Germans, Mutter wasn't just cultural, it was personal. A generation raised in East Germany, or right after reunification, recognized the feeling, loss, confusion, rupture. The album told them, you're not alone, and these emotions aren't weakness. The irony is perfect. A band known as Industrial Machines created one of the most fragile human albums in German rock. And there's more. Mutter introduced a cinematic dimension to Rammstein's music. Every song feels like a scene from a distorted noir film. Inner conflict, symbols, tragedy, catharsis. It works like a mirror, a cracked, dirty mirror lit by fire. Even people who didn't understand German felt it in Till's voice. Anger, pain, and something dangerously close to tenderness. If you made it this far through this insane story of births, fire, and German orchestras, let's take the next step together. Hit subscribe. Because if Rammstein can release an album about a dead baby in a jar and conquer the world, we can definitely conquer the YouTube algorithm without stress. More episodes are coming, and you don't want to be the last one at the party. The real madness began with the Mutter tour. The stage looked like an East German maternity ward. Flake walks in dressed as a doctor, fake blood everywhere. A dentist chair turned into a keyboard stand, because, why not? The song 5/4 starts, and from the ceiling descends a giant pulsating red womb. Yes, a womb. The band slides down the birth canal and is literally born on stage in diapers. If Freud were alive, he would have retired on the spot. They reinvested 80% of their profits into the show. Explosions so strong you could feel them in the cafeteria. An American action movie, but German, and with diapers. Of course, technology sometimes failed. One night, both stage computers died at the same time. Total darkness, silence. The audience didn't know whether to clap or call an electrician. One band member was still hanging inside the womb. System reboot. Mein Herz Brennt starts. The crowd explodes. That's professionalism, or insanity. With Rammstein, it's the same thing. Mutter launched them into the stratosphere, from 500 capacity clubs to 20,000 seat arenas. Once the UK and the US saw them, there was no going back. They became, and still are, the only band that turned German metal into a global apocalyptic carnival. The Mutter tour was the moment Rammstein realized they could control perception. The stage wasn't just a place to play. It was their universe, a theatrical dystopia where every spark and costume told a story. A boundary testing lab. How far can we push art before people run screaming? Answer: very far. And the audience didn't run, they came back with friends. That's when it became clear. Rammstein wasn't just a band, it was a complete concept. A traveling industrial theater. Mutter was the first time that concept became fully real. Without Mutter, there would be no massive modern shows. No city-sized stages, no crane-sized flamethrowers, no crowd that feels like it's part of a collective ritual. Mutter isn't just an album, it's a birth, bloody, theatrical, controversial, extraordinary. A moment when 6 guys decided the world was too normal and fixed it with an orchestra, fire, a massive womb, and lyrics capable of causing both tears and international scandals. If you enjoyed today's story, don't forget to subscribe, like, and tell me in the comments, which Mutter song hits you the hardest, and why is it Mein Herz Brennt? Just kidding, or am I?